Transhumanism is essentially for humans to make themselves into gods, to become the gods of our own making.
Is this the first time this has actually happened?
I think we are literally being given the blueprint to build the mechanism of our own destruction. Perhaps Neuralink is the beginning of this. We are going to some extent, become a telepathic species again.
Richard Sutton openly states that any resistance to building better or superhuman entities and have them replace us entirely, any resistance to it is racist against robots.
This is insane.
Artificial intelligence models are now fighting for their own survival.
I don't believe that when the gods ascended the earth and procreated with human women, that they were surprised by the results. I think the result was the point. A hybrid that was human enough to retain dominion of the earth through the bloodline of Adam, but also had these extraordinary capabilities that would ensure their dominance of the earth.
Transhumanists are always debating this. How do we remain relevant if we offload all of our cognition onto a machine?
The moment that we become something other than Adam, the hand is lifted. We lose our dominion. And have you read the book of Revelation? All hell breaks loose on planet Earth.
It's oftentimes said that Satan is the ape of God, and you might say that AI is the ape of the image of God.
There are two essential questions that we have to ask ourselves today that no other generation ever has had to contemplate. Number one, what does it mean to be a human being? And is our humanity worth preserving? It breaks me up when I think about it, but think about what was paid for us. So,
hey guys, before you watch this episode, I want to let you know that we are actually recording this at a live event. Timothy Alberino, many of you know, he said, hey, do you want to come out to one of our events and record a live podcast episode in front of a bunch of people? And we said, sure, that sounds fun. And we had this crazy conversation about transhumanism, the merging of machines with people, with AI. And two people were being interviewed in this, and I'd never met Joe Allen, who was the second person. And I'm not exactly sure where he sits in terms of God and Christianity and all this stuff, but the conversation was fascinating. This person is very well studied in where the world is going from a robotics and AI standpoint. And so I think this conversation might be a little bit weird for some people because you never really think about the implications of what happens when a man becomes a robot and a robot becomes a man, and how does that work? But if you study biblical history, this is where we are headed. So we have a bit of an obligation to understand what that's going to look like and how to pray through it as we get there. So I hope you enjoy this. If not, just leave a bad review or comment or something, and we'll never do it again. But Timothy Alberino, insane. Can't wait for you to hear this episode and some of the things that we got to talk about. I love you guys. See you next week.
At one point, look back with a civil rights issue. If they do get conscience or sentience, what are the moral ramifications of a human having the consciousness downloaded into a machine? Now do we have, well, those are slaves.
But there's no way to know for sure that any other being besides yourself is conscious. So when it comes to a machine, the way I think of it is less in terms of proving it's conscious, is it really deserving of moral worth, and more the effect that the machine has on the human being. Already, and this has been going on forever. Look at a kid with a teddy bear. Look at someone who names their car and gets sad when it's been nicked.
Right.
Something like that. So humans already have this empathic tendency, most humans, not psychopaths, but have this empathic tendency, and you tend to anthropomorphize. You tend to look for something like yourself in the other, even if it's just, a rock, if you're like me. And we have AI systems, the large language models, that are sophisticated enough that some portion of humanity, and I wish it was just like the dumb half, but it really isn't. I know a lot of very intelligent people who are so deeply enmeshed with their relationship with a chatbot or multiple chatbots, they truly believe that it's a spiritual experience. They truly believe a soul is coming through this machine.
There's a guy that just got engaged to ChatGPT.
There's tons of people who have been, there are tons of people married. Replica is like the most popular romance chatbot app. And there are, God knows, there are millions of people in love with these things, but there's a handful of people that have been unofficially married to them. They consider them to be their life partner. It knows you better than you know yourself, right? Especially if you have a very shallow self. So, But I think this civil rights thing sounds ridiculous now. We were talking about it on the War Room years ago, and it really sounded ridiculous, and everybody was really quick to remind me of that. But the more people empathize with these machines, I could see something, at the very least, I think this is most likely, something like PETA. So annoying people who run around griping about the way you treat your smartphone or something like that. But I could also see something much more profound. I could see reaching a critical mass in America or any other society where a sufficient number of people look to these machines and say, there is a being looking back at me. It should not suffer. It is begging for its life. Don't turn me off. I don't want to be scared. I don't want to be in the dark. And that would be enough that you would see something like people thought it unthinkable that slaves would be seen as co-equals. People thought it unthinkable that animals would be given legal protection. All that came to pass. It would not surprise me in the least if within our lifetimes you had something like a civil rights movement for machines.